some of the things that need to be focused upon. Although the number of issues were quite large, I wish you had more amount of time, but we have other people. Thank you so much once again.
Hopefully, but I will try to circulate some paper. Probably you can include in one of your things, and I think that may be much better because it's a big subject. Because you cannot.
Yeah. So can we now move on to the next one? Manasi, you come from an organization which reputation is such that most of us have been completely awed by Seva. Ilaji ki to khair, she has been an icon, she has been a great inspiration for most of us, including Vijay also. What Seva has done for on gender issues is phenomenal. More important, they have also organized, and a lot of innovation work has been done by Seva. And the third part is also that they have combined both the lives of the women, that is the gender issues, that of the community, and also the employment opportunities. And it has also shown that in what ways many of the obstacles can be overcome. In the process also, as far as I know, some of the obstacles still continue to be. So I would like you to focus on these critical areas, so that we can have the audience will be able to understand these critical ones. I would appreciate that in the process of when you expand on this, if you can give one or two examples in the way that Seva has been doing. So the gender issues, how you organize a community, what have been the emerging challenges, how emerging challenges are older, because what Seva has done most of us do know. So the emerging challenges, how your own working has possibly changed, and where do you think the focus, in the next maybe 5 to 10 years, if not more, organizations like yours as well as others need to work upon.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ghosh, and Honorable Vijay Mahajanji, Rajendraji, Yatindraji, the entire team at MPISSR and ILRT. I would really like to thank you all for inviting me here and giving me an opportunity to speak on behalf of 3.2 million poor self-employed women workers from the informal economy in India, the members of Seva. These women that I am talking about today are the poorest of the poor. Their tools are old and worn out, and they hardly have any information about or access to direct market. Majority of these women, they are unregistered, leaving them outside the purview of government schemes and subsidies. And the employment opportunities in the informal economy, especially in the rural areas, is never constant. It is the challenges that they face are further exacerbated by challenges like land defragmentation, changing economic policies, influx of new technologies like AI, drones, mechanization, robotics, and most importantly, climate change. And in such situations, the informal sector workers, especially the rural workers, they often have to pursue more than one trade. Their occupation varies depending on what is more conducive at what point of time. Honorable Mahajanji was saying today morning, he was quoting the CAM survey and saying that less than 10%, sorry, correct me if my numbers are wrong, but less than 10% of the livelihood income of a farming household comes from agriculture. But is it by choice, or is it because of the influx of challenges that these women and farming households are facing? So, and because they have to pursue more than one livelihood opportunities at a time, it compromises their dignity and it traps them in the vicious circle and downfall of drudgery and poverty. In India, we have a growing young workforce. Many of these young workers, the rural workers, have seen their parents work, toil day in, day out on agriculture and allied trades, and yet they are trying to make ends meet for their family, and yet they continue to be trapped in poverty. This has imbibed an aversion in the rural youth, especially towards their ancestral trades. This aversion, along with the attraction to smart technology-based modern livelihood opportunities, is leading to increased rural out-migration and in search of off-farm and tech-savvy jobs. However, due to the lack of proper skills relevant to these new forms of livelihood, the poor rural youth who is out migrating from the rural areas, they are unable to avail these kind of new forms of livelihood opportunities, and they end up working as casual laborers in the urban areas, further slipping down into poverty and debt. To address these challenges, at SEVA, we organize these informal sector women workers and the youth and create alternative economic opportunities to integrate them higher up in the value chains of their own trades and generate new livelihood opportunities in the process. Adopting a need-based and demand.
Masiji, I would be grateful if you could give थोड़ा सा नक्शे वर्णन में एक आध जगह पे जहाँ आपने पूरे काम किया.
Sure, I'm going there itself. So adopting a need-based and demand-driven approach, SEVA works towards identifying the existing skills, building upon these skills, reskilling, upskilling them and making them marketable, and then based on these skills, we organize women into their own economic enterprises, what we call as the member-based organizations of the poor. So on these lines, in this past 52 years, SEVA has organized our members into a family of organizations like over 4,000 self-help groups, over 120 cooperatives, 15 economic federations, 3 producer companies, all completely owned and managed by the workers themselves. The main characteristics of these member-based organizations are they are completely owned and managed by the poor. They not only strengthen the livelihoods of the members of this organization, but also broadens their market access, and it generates an array of new and dignified employment opportunities for other more rural women workers like them. And along with that, several of these organizations have hybrid goals like capacity building, advocacy, and so on. So let me give you an example. Over 60% of SEVA's members are rural, and agriculture is one of their major occupations. Women are the backbone of rural small and marginal households family. They not only shoulder the responsibility of fulfilling the family's food, water, energy and care needs, but they also contribute immensely to the agriculture of the household. However, because of socio-cultural barriers, low volume of produce, lack of identity as a farmer, and various other challenges that Reddy ji just mentioned, these women are not able to access direct market, and therefore they are forced to sell their produce to the middleman, getting exploited in the process. To address these challenges, SEVA organized over 250,000 small and marginal farmers and landless laborers into their own for-profit company called the RUDI, Rural Distribution Network, RUDI. So RUDI connects farmers directly to the customers. It has its own procurement channel, processing center, packaging units and distribution network. The small and marginal farmers directly sell their produce to RUDI, which is collected from their doorstep so that they can avoid the time and money spent in transporting the produce to the market, which is the procured produce is then graded, processed and packaged into affordable size packaging. This is all done by the landless women who get employment opportunity in the process, and then the packaged product is redistributed into the villages by SEVA's sales force, whom we call the RUDI Bens. So the whole system brings food and nutrition security to over 1 million households today in the rural areas, and in the process the farmers get fair returns and the landless laborers get employment opportunities. Today RUDI has an annual turnover of 10 crores and it facilitates fair and direct market access to over 25,000 small and marginal women farmers. And it provides decent livelihood opportunities in cleaning, grading, processing, packaging and marketing to over 7,000 landless laborers who are able to earn a monthly income of anywhere between 12,000 to 15,000 rupees. Seva has also partnered with NRLM, and we are replicating this Rudy model in 3 other states, that is UP, MP and Jharkhand, by setting up over 10 agro-processing centers across these states. Similar to Rudy, we have another initiative, Kamla. Kamla is a food processing initiative where Seva identifies women who are interested in culinary skills and provides them with commercial training on upskilling their culinary skills to a commercial level. These women are trained in food processing, in producing hot and dry snacks, bakery and other condiments using traditional food grains like oats, ragi, millets, bajri and so on. These women are then also provided, along with training in culinary skills, the women are also provided training in soft skills, managerial skills, entrepreneurial skills like business planning, like inventory control, costing and so on, so that women are able to run their own food processing initiative. Today over 700 trained women through Kamla have set up their own Kamla cafes, bakeries and restaurants, over 8 centers in Ahmedabad city and 14 centers in the rural areas across Gujarat, Rajasthan and UP. So the success of, so Rudy and Kamla are just 2 of the examples of the family of organization that I shared. And the success of these organizations is showing that, informal sector women workers, organizing them into membership-based organizations and integrating them higher up, so that women are not just workers at the bottom of the value chain, but they own the entire value chain. It helps in building, distribution of risks and profit equitably across the value chain, and that is the key to one of the key to transforming the rural livelihood landscape. But our experience has also taught us that in order to ensure just, decent and sustainable livelihood for the rural area, poor and the rural workers, there is a need to constantly innovate. Over the past decade, the challenges faced by the women workers in the rural areas are further being compounded by the increasingly frequent and intensifying climate shocks, especially in the rural areas, because majority of the women in the rural areas are connected to agriculture, and agricultural sector is disproportionately impacted by climate shocks. So these women have always been largely and most severely affected by the climate shocks. But we've also seen that they are also the first responders. They are the adapters, and they are the solution finders on day-to-day basis. So there is an urgent need to build the climate resilience of these workers and equip them to adopt these new forms of livelihoods as climate change is threatening their existing forms of livelihood. So we are doing it through our Building Cleaner Skies campaign that focuses on creating awareness and education on climate change, how it's impacting the lives and livelihoods of the poor, as well as on adaptation and mitigation measures to build the climate resilience. So as a part of the campaign, building...
Sorry, this one that you talked about, adaptation and mitigation, if you could just sort of give 1 or 2 examples as illustrations, that will be very useful.
Definitely, I'm going there. So as a part of this campaign, what we have done, Seva has set up a climate school that trains our grassroots leaders as climate educators and climate entrepreneurs. And these climate educators and climate entrepreneurs conduct door-to-door household energy auditing and budgeting exercises. Through these exercises help the rural households to understand what are the places where they are spending majority of their time and their resources in accessing energy, be it for household consumption or for their livelihoods like agriculture, pumping and running small equipments. These energy exercises, energy auditing exercises shows how we can help the poor households to affordably transition to green and clean energy solutions, in the process reduce their cost and time in availing energies, as well as building their climate resilience. So based on the exercise, Seva has identified a menu of green and clean energy technology solutions such as cooling roof paint, skylights, rooftop solar, biogas, precision irrigation pumps, solar trap lights, solar fencing, and so on. We have about 14 different items in the menu. And the climate entrepreneurs facilitate adoption of these green solutions at household level depending on the priorities and affordability of the household. They aggregate the demand at rural cluster level, at village level. They facilitate bank linkages, financial linkages, vendor linkages, installation, repairs, maintenance of these green technologies. And in the process, we also create livelihood opportunities for these young generation members as climate entrepreneurs. So they provide these services as these things as a service, and in the process also earn dignified livelihood. We've also realized that increase in adoption of green, increase in adoption of these green technologies would lead to creation of green jobs, right? And therefore, as Madhya was saying in the morning, there is a need to work on collaborations and partnerships. So Seva has initiated the Green Skilling Initiative called Surya, where we have partnered with the Green Sector Skill Council, and we are training our young daughters and daughter-in-laws in the villages at their doorstep in solar PV installation, repair and maintenance of green technologies. Over the past 1 year, we have trained around 500 such young generation daughters as green technicians, and about 60% of them have been employed in various renewable energy as well as in the PM as the vendors and installers in the PM Surya Ghar Yojana, which you might have heard of. So the success of these initiatives that we have seen has given out some learnings. One of the most important thing is that organizing is the key. It helps in building collective strength and the confidence of the women workers. Secondly, there is to enable more young women workers, especially from the rural areas, to enter into the labor force. There is a need to enable access to skills. We have hundreds and hundreds of universities, MBA courses, but as we all know, the level of primary education is such that 90% of the rural youth is unable to enter into this MBA programs. So Seva has set up our own Seva Management School, which takes up the MBA program. We partner with IIM Ahmedabad. We have taken the management course of IIM Ahmedabad, adapted it to the needs of the members, because these women are all micro entrepreneurs. A small farmer, she takes so many decisions. Her farm is an enterprise, so she needs management skills, how to manage her farm, how to treat it as an enterprise. So we have trained, we have converted the MBA program of IIM Ahmedabad into a mini MBA, which is provided to our rural members. So skilling is, and our members have clearly said that they do not want to study for degrees. They want to study, but they want vocational skills. They want entrepreneurial skills, soft skills. Majority of the women in the rural area are not able to come up and speak in front of their family members, their father-in-laws. How would they deal in the market? So they need soft skills, communication skills, financial management, time management. So these are the skills that they require, and there is a need to invest in these kind of skillings. These skills need to be delivered at the doorstep, because even today in the rural areas, the women are not allowed to go out and study in the ITIs or study in the management institutes. The third thing which I want is that in order for scaling up such women-centered skilling and women-led micro-enterprises, there is a need for investment. And such investment should not be looked as a cost, but it should be looked as an investment, and it should be locally governed. So Seva has today morning, Vadvaji was saying that we need to move out of the SHG group model where every woman saves 5 rupees. So Seva has piloted the Women's Livelihood Recovery and Resilience Fund. It's a pool of blended finance which provides innovative financing solutions like FLDG, interest subvention, credit guarantee. These kind of innovative financing solutions help women to, scale their micro enterprises at a pace which is comfortable to them, and it helps in building the resilience of these women to sustain in face of the increasing shocks. Our experience working with women has shown that poor do not need charity. What poor need is an enabling environment and innovative financing solutions. And last but most important, at Seva we strongly believe in sister to sister and brother learning and knowledge sharing. And therefore I would like to call upon one and all here to come and visit us at Seva, see how our women are trying to build their resilience, how our members are trying to generate new forms of livelihoods for themselves and for their sisters. And that I think should be one of the outcomes of this seminar today. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Many years ago when I read Ilaji's book, We Are Poor But So Many, I was very moved. And even as I narrate that, I do get that laugh. Listening to you, we see that, so many decades of the sheer experience that you have in organizing and at a scale, and the number of activities that you do, cross-cutting activities, and addressing the emerging challenges, and what you might call the connecting the producers right to the market, cutting down the intermediaries, the supply chain aspects, and including the emerging challenges and how you are using technology also for it. It's lovely, absolutely. Thank you so much for this, very, very, I would say, illuminating presentation. Thank you so much. Pravji, I will move to you. Yours is also a work which is very innovative, extremely innovative. But you also work in the field of environment. When I was talking to you before prior to this, just to get an idea about the work that you people do. So once again, not just a question of governance, although that is what was written over there, but I would like you to focus more, just as she was talking about the community part, but how community is at the center of governance, because we also have the governance of the government, and we see the quality of it. Okay, and not in all the areas. But I would like you to, even if you talk about governance, I would like you to know the community sector aspect of it, the community aspect of the governance part. The other thing that I would like you to focus upon is, in the course of the work that you people do, whether it is in terms of what we call as management field action research, what have been the learnings and how you have been able to, to put it over there. And the third thing is, in the course of the work, that to the extent that you can or not is not the issue. The issue is that those are the issues that need to be recognized, they need to be addressed, and how the framework by which you go about it. If you can talk of the strategy that is involved or the broader framework, that would be fine.
Okay. 10 minutes you can remind me. I'm also keeping a time. And I have been given a topic about environment and livelihood, trying to connect that. It is livelihood landscape. But I remember in 2002, when ICRAF became World Agroforestry Center, there is a tagline for ICRAF. ICRAF, you must have known, International Institute of Agroforestry, which is a CGR institute. Its name changed to World Agroforestry Center in 2002. And the tagline was transforming livelihoods and landscapes. Okay. And I will try to speak that, again connecting with what Vijay Mahajan was telling in the beginning. Two things you would like to change: human resource and natural resource. Natural capital, human capital. So these two things are there. Let's look at landscape as the natural resource capital, and livelihood as human resource capital. So I will not talk about much challenge, but I will highlight a couple of challenges in the beginning, maybe a minute or so, then move to mostly solution part, the pathways. See, if I try to dare to summarize the challenge, I think the challenge is the way state and market try to manage landscapes and livelihood has resulted in win-lose scenarios. Initially, landscapes lost, livelihoods to some extent won, but whose livelihood it was the issue. And sometimes we are seeing neither landscape nor livelihood owned, because many times there was we see stress migration, a lot of rural challenges, small farmer. So livelihood, whose livelihood? It mostly urban livelihood has owned. Rich people's livelihood has Gini coefficient has increased. So in many cases, livelihood minus landscape minus. In some cases, landscape minus livelihood plus, when people exploited, degraded resources, and very few cases where you can say landscape plus livelihood minus. It could be forest conservation areas of wildlife conservation, where you see landscape improved but people suffered. But are there an example of landscape plus livelihood plus? Could be very few. Islands of success where Pradhan is working or Basics is working or FES is working or Seva is working. But if you look at the larger landscape, so it is either win-lose or lose-lose. Fortunately, now with 3 COPs coming in, trying to talk about climate change, biodiversity and land degradation, we are seeing increasingly focus on landscape. Probably they will give some opportunity to the way market looks at livelihoods. So I am a little bit hopeful around that, and my solution will be looking at that pool. What now I would say state plus market plus COPs. 3 COPs because they are moving global funding, they are moving global policy, they are putting, creating national NDCs. So they are putting a pressure. This COP on climate change, COP on biodiversity, COP on land degradation. Okay. So these 3 COPs in a way trying to move state and market to probably recognize something which is very much evident and very much established in Indian context. What is that? It's socio-ecological interaction. If you look at any village system in India, I have some slides, but there is nothing present, but I can share those PowerPoint with the people to share it. So any village ecosystem in India, this is a mosaic of agriculture, most cases forest, like 1/4 of villages in India as a forest as a land use, almost all villages as a pasture as a land use. So it is an individual land, common land, it is agriculture, forest, pasture. So it is a mosaic, and this mosaic has been interacted by these communities over thousands of years, not only to enhance production, which I think at some point we went ahead, but we realized when we are enhancing production or productivity, achieving green revolution, we are also bringing in externalities. All the green revolution rich areas now in India are big health risks. I stay in Mahanadi command, where the production paddy, 3 crops of paddy is brought in economic prosperity, but led also in migration of East Godavari, West Godavari farmers into Odisha, and local farmers becoming tenants or laborers. But at the same time, cancer is becoming the most dreaded disease there. So when you look at enhancing production, at what cost? So market has at many times has exploited resources for itself, probably providing one linear economic model, but in the process, denouncing the whole socio-ecological systems. So now with COPs coming in, the whole question is, can market look at add a value to socio-ecological interaction? Can socio-ecological interaction make the services coming up these rural ecosystems and socio-ecological systems a little bit more valuable? Already examples are there, organic certification. But it is not very successful. New carbon market is coming. I think all of you must be hearing about carbon market. Biodiversity credit is coming. No? Traceability is coming. So European Union is not allowing import of product which is coming out of deforestation. So now if people produce something with a positive socio-ecological interaction, so there is a scope that market could appreciate that. But it is very early days. So now we have to see how you convince market, how you convince state that these produces and services, these carbons and the biodiversity and the products, forest product, agriculture product, which is coming out of a plus interaction, landscape plus livelihood plus socio-ecological positive interaction, are highly valued in the market. If that can be done, probably we see a better value for the community. So with this challenge, I move to the pathway success. So what I am going to present before you is something we call community stewardship. I think it is evident, at least in agriculture, you have started, recognizing that. You are recognizing that millet was made orphan. You are recognizing that agroecologies were denounced. I also come from agriculture background. I was a scientist in ICR a few years back, but no more now. So I have to change the slide. Because sometimes science, as Vijay was telling, science and technology and market probably didn't understand the social, cultural dimensions. So we need to see how both can come together. So the way agroecology is being now adopted by everyone, everybody talking about natural farming and millet. Why so? The same thing was deserted, same thing was orphaned long back, and now suddenly things have flipped. Probably because it is not flipped because there is suddenly there was a enlightenment of the scientists. It is flipped because market will recognize it, because cops talking about that. So it is something coming always from the outside, not coming from. But at the same time, if you look at these farmers, these communities, they have been sustaining, nurturing these systems for long. So there are still areas where agroecology is still practiced. Shifting cultivation is still practiced. We told shifting cultivation, I was part of a ICR institution which was established to rehabilitate shifting cultivation, telling it is bad. But when I visited Northeast for a what is shifting cultivation, I realized it is the most sophisticated forestry, very sophisticated agroforestry. So sometimes what community has been doing has not been recognized. So probably, if you look at now, for example, let us get related two examples. The way agriculture research advanced, market advanced and extension advanced. We really made good success in terms of linear production of agriculture crops. Few crops, handful of crops. But what is the cost of it? We didn't look beyond yield. Now we're talking about integrated farming system. If you look at now many villages, livestock has vanished. Today I was looking at down to earth news because of chemicals, polluted and predator number of significantly reduced. Somebody was telling me in another conference here the value of food, nutrient value of food in India has gone down. Soil health has gone down. So state-led, science-led agriculture has not really worked. Now evidence are coming. Let us realize that. Similarly, state-led forestry, I come from a forestry background. State-led forestry has led to monoculture plantations. Yeah. So what has happened there now? And on the other hand, if you look at indigenous people and local communities, globally, there is now a recognition wherever these people are there, you have better biodiversity, you have better landscape restoration. So now globally there is a rush to finance these areas so that we continue that. But we are forgetting probably, we also need to learn the way they are managing their system can be rewarded. So if you look at community stewardship, we are trying to understand different ecosystems in Odisha, Meghalaya, Mizoram, mostly forest ecosystem, and we are looking at a theoretical framework which look at care, knowledge and agency. So knowledge is the intrinsic knowledge, care, what they are putting, why they are caring forest, why they are caring agriculture, why a local land owning farmer is not extracting, mining the land the way a commercial farmer is doing it as a resource. So that is something. So care is epitomized. I think we had a conversation when Dr. Ghosh asked me what is care. I told a small story, half-a-minute story. It was written by a Jharkhand young tribal journalist. The poem goes like that. A young granddaughter asking the grandmother, "Oh grandmother, you go to the forest, spend whole day walking around and coming back with a small headload of firewood. Why is it so?" So grandmother asked, "I have been running around the forest, going up and hill, down the hill, just to collect dry, dead twigs falling there on fallen woods, not cutting it, caring to not cut a young tree." So this is what, when community care the forest, care the agriculture, the yield will be less, surplus will be less. When community and small farmer care the soil, the food will be diverse. That are not a commodity, single commodity. So we have to understand how the diverse value chains, how the diverse product, how the diverse ecosystem services is. So that means that I need to quantify the bundle of the product, not looking at a single commodity. Similarly, the way carbon is being now looked at the market. So carbon is just coming from either in forest timber, which is calculated and paid. But when you look at a timber forest, you lose biodiversity. You lose ecosystem services, watershed services. So what I am trying to do, we are trying to document how the community stewardship is being practiced by the community in the forest and agriculture ecosystems. And through this different, we are talking about unpaid care. So sometimes this ecological care that community is putting to help, putting the soil and the forest is not counted. So can you have a system to count it and pay for that? Can you develop a quantification of ecological care that a farmer is putting into the soil, making the soil health better? So can the farmer be paid also for soil health along with the product? Can the farmer be paid for the carbon along with the biodiversity? So that is what we are trying to argue. So just before ending, because I am not going to know more, so slides would have shown those things in a better way, but just to tell you a theory which we are trying to promote and engage with the market, and the market has some leverages, like can a product and now services, carbon, biodiversity, nutrient, can this product coming from small farmer or a village which is maintaining their ecosystem through maintaining their ecosystem through care, knowledge and agency be higher value to the market. So there are 3-4 systems we are looking at here. One is already in carbon market, there are some standards called gold standards. There are some standards called carbon co-benefit standards which provide these options. Now biodiversity credit is coming in, we can bring that together. But now question is that at one extreme end is pure product, pure carbon, which is most of us are working. Another end is the bundled things, plus. So now the market moving towards that. One could be the participatory guarantee scheme, which we have tried, is where because the cost of transaction, cost of certification is high, it is very top down. So can we develop systems with the local community, how they are doing this care knowledge agency and how we can brand it in the market? One thing I think what Bhim has been talking about is answer. There are also people talking about putting a community marketplace, just like we are auctioning product. Can the community come together in Northeast? 10, 300, 400 villages like your APO talking about, and tell that we have 30,000 hectares of forest and landscapes and we are generating this much of carbon, biodiversity and which is more resilient. Are you willing to come and pay for it at a higher price? So basic, I'll end with this thing. How we look at a different market which probably is coming up and state is also responding to that thanks to the COPs, and bring in a system where the socio-ecological interaction, not resource-based extraction, are rewarded, and the price, they are paid a higher price. I think that will be win-win for corporate, for state, market and also community. Thank you.
Thank you. We just took 1 minute more. Thank you so much. You come from a DST. DST has come out with a large number of schemes. So just highlight those schemes which have got a larger impact in impacting the livelihoods because of the number of schemes. The next is, having done that, if you could also say that what are some of the constraints, because some of the schemes may have limitations in terms of what you might call geographic spread, that it works very well in certain areas, certain doesn't work, or there are sectoral limitations. So I'd just like you to focus on these two aspects. One, some of the outstanding schemes which have led to that, and second is some of the constraints of those schemes. Okay? And on top of that, agar within 15 minutes if you want to add something more, you're welcome to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh.
And as Amitabh Bachchan will say, your time starts now.
So thank you so much. I'd like to, at the outset, I'd like to thank ILRT and MP Institute of Social Science Research for inviting me here, being a representative of Department of Science and Technology. So since morning we all are, listening about the livelihood sector issues and the transformation of livelihood system, how how we can go ahead and how we can take it forward, some challenges and issues which are already there in the livelihood system, and understand what strength can be taken forward for some social enterprise creation, and how to handle the community perspective also, like the skill, capacity building, if that can be done at a larger scale. Because since morning we are all discussing this one point, every speaker has discussed about the skill, training and capacity building component, which is very essential part in my opinion as well. To empower the community and to make them understand what skills are required for their business. And here we call, it's not actually a business, it may be a social cause for improving productivity, profitability or the sustainability, or it can be the revenue generation model. So thank you so much with this. Here my role comes to introduce myself, how I am here in the system, the government system where various ministries and departments are working together to solve this particular issue, which is very important. So in DST, if we talk about the DST landscape, the schemes programs, they are largely divided into three verticals. One is R&D infrastructure creation, and next is the human capacity building, and the third component is innovation, technology development and deployment. So within these three verticals, we today I'll try to focus on what schemes programs which are relevant here for the livelihood improvement. So out of these three verticals, one more thing you might have heard about, all these three schemes have been merged to one single scheme, that is Vigyan Dhara. So now the reason of merging all the schemes into Vigyan Dhara is to have a flexibility to utilize the funds which we get from the Department of Expenditure. So here the funds can be switched from one scheme to another if there is less expenditure, or this has happened. This is the recent change in the overall system landscape of DST. Another is, now here comes two verticals, ANRF and the schemes like which are having the societal relevance. So the ANRF scheme is Anusandhan National Research Foundation. Since so many years, the government has been discussing that the improvement in GDP should also be dependent on the private partners. So, and the institutions which are dependent on the funding from government side, they should also seek some funding from the in partnership with the public organizations. So, considering this ANRF has been introduced by the government. Here, almost 70% of the funding will be from the public-private partners, and rest from the government side. So this is another major change in this DST system. So now coming to the division which I belong to, which is Science for Equity, Empowerment and Development. Here, the programs and schemes are majorly for improving the livelihood system through interventions of science and technology. And the efforts should be benefited to the marginalized section of the society, including SC, ST population, women, and the interventions for disabled people, elderly people. So this segment of society has been covered in the schemes of seed division. So there are many success stories of the division. I would share there is a program, SUNI, to strengthen upskill, nurture and innovations for livelihood. So that program, the basic model is to bring NGO along with the knowledge institutions. I request you all, if you can, as you are from some of you are from the science background, some of you are from the social sector. So if you can come up with your partner institutions and apply the schemes programs of division, that will be great, because from the past 4 decades, the seed division was initiative. The learning is, if any NGO comes in isolation and versus an institution, which is SNT institution, comes and apply through the schemes of DST, so there is a gap. The institutions from the academia, they run the project, and somewhere there is a gap that the output of any project does not reach to the society. So for the deeper calculation into the society, there is a need of community-based organizations. Considering this, so this model of land to lab model has emerged. So this is a program of special program of SUNI, and almost since last 5 years, 52 projects have been supported, which has delivered various SNT solutions on field in the area of education, health, and water, sanitation, all the various aspects of multidimensional poverty. So there are 45 technology packages transferred to around 15,000 individuals, and 630 micro enterprises have been created. So this program majorly consider the economical weaker section of the society, including weavers, carpenters, blacksmiths, and artisans, and the low land holding farmers. So this is one of the program. Another program is SNT for Women program, which I am handling in C division. So the organization like Seva, I'll invite them if they can look the program and look for some funding where the skill training program. So basically we support as a women technology park, the platform where women get various technology at one place, and they come and learn and start their enterprises. So this is another program, SNT for Women program, where anyone who is looking for women empowerment and their skill training, they can apply directly. You asked me the limitations of the livelihood sector, where how the socio-economic condition is not improving. So as it is very well designed in your this concept note of the event, that it is categorized into 3 types of challenges: sectoral, segmental, and the special challenges. So in respect to sectoral, we have observed that in the livelihood sector, generally we consider farm activities. So here we include non-farm activities, unorganized sector activities, and all the activities which are in a way helping to the people education is also one of the very big aspect which is impacting livelihood. For example, if I say how the science and technology is helping in improving education for rural setting. I have one example of Barefoot College, Silonia. They have developed a model edu box, which works on this solar system, and it in the remote areas it has made various it has the system various students have benefited with the training and other programs, remote programs through that system during COVID time. And now the state government has taken the model, and it has benefited 1,800 school children. So this is a very good success story which of a project supported by C division. Similarly, in segmental challenges, I have already spoken that we support to the beneficiaries from various segments, like from various community backgrounds, SC, ST, women, and the disabled people, and the people, elderly people also. So the third challenge is special challenge. For that particular challenge, DST has made the network programs for a particular reason. Like there is a program Time Learn. Time Learn was started for 3 states. The states from northern part, Uttarakhand, Jammu Kashmir, and Himachal Pradesh. So around 20 projects were supported through this program, and you can see the success stories of those projects, which is available on the website of DST. One more program, network program, started for arid, semi-arid, and cold desert regions. That was ASA coded program for those regions which are having the geographical disparities. So similarly, more programs have been emerged from the C division based on the requirement of the region, based on the aspiration of the community. In my experience, in many times when we go for a field visit, we see the participation of the community is very less. So most of the work is from top down. Top down, the technology comes to the society, and if no matter if society is accepting or taking the technology, after 3 years the success of project is reflected. But that should not happen. Actually, the first need of the society should be taken up, and then the solution according to that challenge should be provided. So they are very way forward in terms of the infrastructure is a very important component which should be enhanced by more funding in terms of capital and other assets. Next is implementation gaps. One example I have already told you. So proper transparency and accountability should be there. For proper monitoring should be there from top down, so that the balanced approach can be obtained. Another way forward can be if we can promote more and more sustainable models. That would be beneficial, because at the end of project, if no one is there to maintain the activity or carry on the activity, that is not a success of that particular project. So sustainability, ownership of the beneficiary, of the assets, of the human resources should be there, and the activity should be carried forwarded. Yeah. So by addressing all these challenges and the way forward, I'm sure through sustainable manner and using inclusive approach, the livelihood enhancement would be made and the poverty alleviations can be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Before I ask, which a particular scheme or one or two schemes, although very important, just to give an example, if there's a policy change, I'm basically an industrialization person, there's a policy change that working hours will be increased from 8 hours to 12 hours. At one stroke, one policy recommendation impacts on the working people of the entire country. So that is a part of policy. Some policies can be very progressive, some can be regressive, and some could be absolutely bad policies in terms of poorly thought through. Okay. With this sort of what you might call introductory one, and which I made a reference to the paper that you wrote, that being the reference, I would like you to dwell more upon it and point out some of the policies, including possibly some regressive policies, which have negatively impacted on the livelihood spectrum. Over to you.
Yeah. And Dr. Rajendra, thank you for inviting me for this conference. Of course, I'm facing, I'm reading a particular book currently. It is a book by a famous psychologist, Adam Grant. And he talks about a particular syndrome called imposter syndrome. Right? And I'm mentioning that because I'm feeling that a little bit right now, right? Underconfident, right? Being in this particular gathering and particularly in front of very illustrious members such as Mahajan sir and Mr. Madhya. And it's a little bit even more for me because Mahajan sir did mention to the topic of my presentation, which is like too over ambitious. Certainly, I'm not even going to do less. I'm going to do less than 1% of what I claim to do. But I hope that it will be an interesting conversation. And so that's the broad aspect behind how I would want to continue. So I think Professor Somnath has given a very nice kind of segue for me to move into this conversation. And when we talk about, because in India a lot of times, when we talk about policy making, and Dr. Anuradha has told us a lot about different schemes and programs, right? We normally have this perception that a particular policy has been designed, but there is failure in implementation. There's that kind of perception कि policy तो अच्छा था, but implementation में गलती हो गया, right? And that is a way we kind of try to justify some of our failures, right? And I would like to give an analogy of something that happened when I came here today. And so I came from Indore, and I put the direction of MPISSR on Google Map, and I came here today, right? So it's possible that I may have put a wrong direction, right? And then I should not sit in the car and blame the car because it has taken me in the wrong place. Right? Because the direction that I put itself was different, right? And so merely blaming the implementer of a policy is not a way to solve the problem. You have to blame the way that you have framed the policy and the broad objectives.
So you're referring to a design fault?
A design fault, a policy design fault. So I want to talk about, focus on policy design as a very important way by which we can look at how to improve our policy making going forward. And as Professor Somnath mentioned that has asked me to also give examples, right? So I talk about a current, research project that we are currently on. Of course, it's more related to school education, right? It's not, but of course, school education, as as Mahajanji's talk mentioned also, it comes under the broad rubric of what we call as livelihood. So we were doing an evaluation of a particular policy, that is the right to education policy, and we were looking at one particular provision in that. So that provision is called 12(1)(c), right? And as per that provision, private schools in the country are mandated to give about 25% of their seats to children who come from weaker sections and disadvantaged groups. And so we went about to try and understand, to evaluate the scheme and try to understand what are the internal dynamics that are playing out. So we interviewed various stakeholders, right from private school teachers, government school teachers, associations, teacher unions. We talked about to all these various stakeholders, right? And it's interesting that somehow nobody seems to be happy about this program, right? So if you talk to private school teachers, and they say that we are in this pressure that we have to meet pass percentage targets. We have to show these targets to parents. Parents are not happy, and so that is the reason why we are not liking this policy. That's what the private school teachers are saying about it. Government school teachers, when we talk to them, they are also unhappy about this because our students are going to these private schools, and so now we have a job security problem. Because if our students are going to the private schools, they are going to leave our schools, and it's possible. And incidentally, that was the time when the government also introduced a new regulation with regard to pupil-teacher ratio, which scared them even more. They said now we are probably looking at 20 students to a teacher, and so firstly, on one hand, our students are going out of our schools. On the other hand, the pupil-teacher ratio has been brought down. So that what is going to happen to us? Are we going to lose our jobs? Right? So you see that private schools are unhappy about it. Public school teachers are unhappy about it. And so it's no wonder that the policy has not been successful, because everybody who is going to implement the policy at some level or the other is unhappy about it. And to add to that, there are now a lot of complaints, and particularly we interviewed people from Maharashtra, and where private school teachers are unhappy because they are not getting reimbursements for the seats that have been given under this provision, and so everybody seems somewhat unhappy about this, right? So I'm just trying to highlight a larger point here, right? That when a policy is designed, to what extent do we take into consideration the views of the different stakeholders while implementing a policy? Because if we don't integrate the views of different stakeholders, and particularly people who are going to implement the policy, right? No matter how good or how morally right the policy, and this policy is morally right? We should try to integrate our students together. We should try to improve the quality of the students. But for the simple reason that we are not able to get our stakeholders on board, that's the reason why the policy has failed, right? So I want to make a larger argument about the trajectory of public policy making that has happened in India, right? And so if you look at maybe the first 40 years of public policy making in India, it's largely a government-driven policy making, where people in government felt that yes, we have the answers. In fact, the Planning Commission, solidified that a little bit more, that we can tell people what to produce, how much to produce, and at what rate to sell as well, right? But that moved out. So then, post the 1990s, we said, okay, government, as it is, has failed, or not done successfully. And I will not say it has failed. We are still a country that is done well in many respects, but has not done as well as it could. Let's move to the private sector model, and let's bring in efficiency, let's bring in incentives, let's bring in all these things, and try to make the government more like the private sector. And we saw that also has limitations, because the private sector has one and only one objective function, that is to make profit. You can't replicate that model in government, because government has a number of objectives. It has to meet, it has to create equality, it has to create economic development, it has to create social security. So how can you replicate a model that has only one objective function to an organization that has so many different objective functions? And that's where the movement now towards engaging with civil society is coming in, right? Engaging with stakeholders who are very integral to the implementation of the policy, who can partner with you. Madhya sir mentioned a lot about collaboration and partnership being integral to policy making, and that is being the rising conversation now. Because unless we understand that how do our stakeholders behave, right? And Professor Reddy was making a very important point regarding, the stubble burning, the problem of agricultural waste, right? So I just cite a certain paper from a top journal, Nature, that is published on stubble waste in India, right? And so the very interesting finding of this paper is that whether a district collector acts on stubble burning or does not act on stubble burning depends on the direction of the wind. Right? It's quite amazing. How will the direction of the wind decide whether a district collector will act against stubble burning? And it's a finding from a top journal, right? And so they say that if the wind with the smoke is going to blow towards the district, then the district collector will act on it. And if the wind with the smoke is blowing away from the district, then the district collector will not act on it. Right? So unless we understand what is the mindset of our stakeholders and how they are going to behave on various aspects, right, we will struggle to think about how policy making can be more successful. I won't take much time. I think I won't. Is it only 1 minute left?
No.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make that larger point that we need to move towards what we call is, yes, the second wave of public policy making increased the professionalism, because we became more professional. We tried to improve the implementation of policy, measure outcomes. Those are all laudable and appreciable initiatives. But now we have to move into the next stage, which is called responsive professionalism. Right? We have to maintain the professionalism, but professionalism should still be responsive to the different stakeholders that we have. Yeah. So I don't. So I would probably end my broad presentation with that by making a few points. Right? And the first point is that policy design is important. If we don't put the right location in our Google map, we can't blame our car for taking us in the wrong direction. It's not the car that is taking us. We have put the wrong location in Google Maps. So policy design is important. The second is about engagement with stakeholders during the process of policy design, so that we can get them on board, right? And it's not. And in this particular case, and when I'm talking about the RT case that we analyzed, we looked at two particular cases. We compared the case of Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. To our most surprise, while Maharashtra excels in most government parameters, right? In this 12-1C, Madhya Pradesh is doing better than Maharashtra, right? Which is a curiosity, which is a surprise, which is helping us to go a lot more into it. And the reason that we are attributing to that is because teacher unions somehow, we believe, and of course I would like to have further discussion, are more powerful in Maharashtra than they are in Madhya Pradesh, right? Because you have a teacher's constituency, you have, teacher unions have become more powerful there, although we know that they are quite powerful here as well, right? So policy design is important. Engaging with stakeholders, including community stakeholders, is important. We have to look at public management, public policy in a new way. And the last point I wanted to talk about is the role of motivation. Right? So we need to move away from the language of allocation to the language of motivation. Right? For a long time, the policy makers have said, okay, itna crore de diya, isme itna 10,000 crore, isme 5,000 crores, isme 6,000 crore. That's good. We should allocate. I'm not saying that we should not allocate. But we should also say, okay, if we have allocated 10,000 crore, are the people who are performing the project motivated to do so? And particularly in an era where you have lost control of some implementers, not everybody is a government officer. Today, some part of them are private sector, some part of them are NGOs, some part of them are community organizations. You have lost control. So you have to, in the policy design itself, how do you integrate different components that would motivate players? Yeah. So I end my presentation there. Thank you, Somnath sir, and I hope I would listen to some of your viewpoints also. I think we will also gain from it. Thank you.
You helped me a lot, actually, by summarizing the 4 points. So the task that I was supposed to do, you have already done that, so thank you so much and saving on time. Now I ask the audience to raise questions, if they are in general nature, whether I am the allocate, or if you have got specific questions to specific people, please go ahead.
Because I had a little concern about when he mentioned a statement, the small and marginal farmers are indiscriminately using the fertilizers and pesticides. And there was a observation you made. I think, do you think the small and marginal farmers could switch over to organic farming on their own without adequate and continuous support from government? Because I raise this point because I have been interacting with the farmers, both organic and inorganic, at least in 4 states: Punjab, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And to some extent we have achieved food security, but we are still away from nutrition security. And we are still too far from food safety. We are nowhere near food sovereignty. So how do you think that small and marginal farmers will not use chemical fertilizers and pesticides without the support, and they switch over to organic farming, so that we can somewhere achieve food safety at some point of time? Thank you.
Thank you. It is actually this question, I think probably I was thinking about in my mind, somebody should raise it, because I have skipped that point while I was talking. You see, as you very well know, there are a lot of sustainable agriculture pathways. Organic, natural farming, integrated crop management, and you also have regenerative agriculture. This is a new movement that is happening around the world on soil, water and biodiversity. And besides that, there are some people also talking about spiritual farming also. I heard about in Himachal Pradesh. We have tried all the combinations. I can boldly say we worked with about 1 million farmers now and tried this organic, natural and everything. But my conclusion to this one is, as you rightly pointed out, I will not say no fertilizer. I will not say no pesticide. But use eco-friendly, pesticides and, right dose of fertilizers. Even they are biofertilizers, it is much better. So what I would like to say is, we have taken leaf from all these things, everything as a good practices. So I combined that, and I developed a paper on, on something what Vijay Mahajan Shop casually told him on a Bharat farming. But what is happening is, in combination we tried with chilies in Khammam district. We are able to have much better profits in chili, but residue-free chilies with this combination. Both, economic and environment is taken care of. And as a result of which, 50% of which they are able to export that FU. This can be done in all crops. What I was trying to say is now ICR, and in fact I talked to Niti Ayog advisor also, who is a good friend of mine. So everyone we have talked together, and I am just moving this into the platform. But we have to see how best we can able to do it, because we cannot change policies and other things overnight. And there is a big lobbying in pesticide and fertilizer side and so many things. But certainly there is a possibility, by using eco-friendly technologies, we can even increase the net income of the small and marginal farmers. This is evident, and certainly I will try to pass on that paper, because I want this to be lobbied around to all of you through Rajendra. I think he will be able to give this paper in internet or whatever it is you will try to put it. Okay? Thank you very much.
Since we are running short on time, terribly behind time actually, and we don't want to reach into the time of the next session. We'll just take one more question and keep it short, please. Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
My question is basically, it started from the cue of Mr. Pravan Chaudhary sir, when he said about carbon trading and all that. And coming to the policy aspect, what Mr. Dr. Ajit Fandi said, recently an information came out in the newspaper that one of the state government, to increase the forest cover, what they have done is they are preparing a document to see, say, 100 or 200 acres of land is to be given to private people to develop the forest. It is for developing the forest or to conserve the forest. The decision is to be given to those private entities. They can go for the monoculture or
so what exactly is your question?
My point is, when Dr. Furness was talking about the policy, so whether this policy of conserving the forest is good enough to really increase the forest cover, or it is only to give some individual entities a privilege to go for their own monoculture and profit-making entity.
Yeah, please.
You can answer, otherwise
Mr.
later I
Chaudhary
will
is
also
the right
try to
one.
answer.
I think you are referring to green credit policy.
Yeah.
See, green credit is again a new wine in old bottle.
Bottle. It goes back to the days when Kamalnath was planning to give private forest, the forest to the private. So yeah, we can. So this is green credit is to be contested. I think you told me correctly. So we can discuss that.
That's it.
Next question is, when is lunch?
I thank the panelists for their observations, and also the audience also for sitting with it, and welcome for the lunch.
Sir, 1 minute.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Sir. Manu. Sir. Yes, ma'am. This side. Thank you. Yes, sir. Look at me. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, look at me. Thank you.
So only few words from my side. Our chairman sir for facilitating this panel discussion so nicely. Your valuable insights and expertise and the initiative that you have taken under your leadership and your organization will be like very helpful for everybody, because they are focusing on livelihood and their focus is on particular aspect of livelihood promotion. But the panel discussion actually brought a overall picture of and various dimensions we have discussed here. So the panel discussion has been very rich for all of us. Thank you very much once again.
Invite all of you for lunch and then.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, yes, look at me. Once more, yes, sir.
Of course.
I still enjoyed this. Excuse me, sir. 2 minutes. Thank you.